Welcome back, it's Max, and we got a problem. A few episodes ago, we converted the entirety of our storage room floor into moss, and it added a little bit of a naturalistic touch. But I honestly dislike it, and I think we could do way, way better. I had the privilege of being invited to a wedding in rural upstate Vermont during the peak fall season. On the drive up, I was totally captivated with the beautiful fall colors that sprinkled the Vermont countryside. Deep reds, vibrant oranges, and pale yellows reminded me of the cyclical nature of life. It was also probably good that I stopped playing Minecraft and touched some grass for once. While there, we explored a beautiful flowing creek cutting through the Vermont countryside, and I knew instantly that this would be the inspiration I needed to update my storage room. I wanted to base the storage room on the vibrant fall colors in the northeast of the USA. We also stopped and saw the world's tallest filing cabinet. I then spotted a lone mushroom, silently growing on a bench. I loved how its pearly white colors contrasted with the browns of fall, and I thought this would be a great place to start our storage transformation. So let's start working on some of those mushrooms. Of course, for all big builds, I wanted to create something on a small scale, so I just made some of the outlines out of yellow wool. I wanted to keep these organics relatively flat, so when they jut out, it looks like a beautiful white line that cuts right through the storage room. I think this is a really great start, but compositionally, something's off. I think if we add another one up top and move the bottom one over to the right, this looks so much better. So I think it's time to actually build out some of the organics. I decided to go with the smooth quartz for these builds just because you cannot tell where one block ends and one block starts, and I think it makes the whole thing look really organic and beautiful. With shaders, this thing looks awesome, but unfortunately, in-game, it's looking really, really dark. If I chug a night vision potion, you can really see that this is exactly what I'm going for. But before we start dealing with the lighting issues and adding actual textures to these mushrooms, I want to turn our attention to growing more mushrooms around the cathedral. I have some orange concrete in my inventory, so I'm gonna put a little X everywhere around the storage room that I think a new mushroom should grow. Slap one here. Compositionally, I really like how these X's are scattered across the entirety of the storage room. I want to grow a ton of these big mushrooms, so my plan is to fly to our bulk storage section, grab a whole heaping pile of bone meal, and if I start spamming bone meal, I might just be able to grow a ton of these mushrooms. Wow, bone meal is crazy. I love the organic touch that these mushrooms add to the rigid structure of the base. I hope it's not too many, but right now I think it looks perfect. However, let's address the dark spots. I made a little diorama to show off my plan. I want to add a little blight, or spots on these mushrooms to make them look a little more organic and blend in some cheeky lighting. By adding these calcite, birchwood, and glow lichen rotting spots, we'll hopefully do the trick to remove some of the dark spots. One live stream later, and the mushrooms have had a glow up. I did make one change where I replaced the glow lichen, just because it was too dark, with a verdant frog light and an iron trapdoor. I don't really know if these patches show up well on video, but I think it was a massive change because these mushrooms look bright and beautiful. These mushrooms will also stand out way more once we replace the stone walls of the cathedral storage room. But I think it's time to switch gears here, and I want to work on the lake and river. I have a general idea of what I want to build, so I started with collecting materials. I cut down a bunch of trees, traded for quartz, got a bunch of bones, collected some dripstone, mined out a geode, duped a bunch of red sand, collected some podzol, and these are all the materials I collected, packed into shulker boxes. But like all Minecraft projects, I'm probably gonna end up needing more blocks. So what's the plan here? My plan is to have a massive lake right here, using the fog trick with layers of water in between, and a river that flows right into that hole over there. Let me map it out with some concrete. Went a little overboard, and I made not only the pond layout, but added a bunch of water channels as well. It flows in from the cracks in the rock face into the pond and exits down into the bowels of the earth. The cyan terracotta weaves in and out of the storage floor, and I think it looks glorious. The way the river flows leaves little islands that can hold interesting rocks, organics, and structures, which can house some really interesting nature and creatures. But I got a really big grind ahead of me, carving out the pond, applying the glass, and flooding the middle layers. Okay, so I may have overestimated how long this will take. After 2 solid days of building, this is how it's looking so far. The blue concrete of the pond is really coming together, and I'm really liking the organic shapes that are made with the edges. The blue concrete texture works in the murkier, deeper parts of the pond, but I definitely will need to blend it into the terrain once we start working on it. As for the pillars, I tried to blend them into the blue concrete so it looks like they're emerging from the deep soot of the pond. But for now, I think the blue concrete will do really well. As for the water, I'm alternating between green glass and blue glass to create a dark, murky effect, which I think is working so far. However, I severely underestimated how much glass I'm gonna need. It's about 3 shulker boxes of glass per layer. Oof. The keen observers amongst you may notice we have a few friends floating around the pond. For each of the water layers, I grabbed some glow squids from the nearby pond and added 3 of them to each layer. Since each layer is separated by glass, I hope the effect is that glow squids at lower levels look darker and dungier and kinda like they're swimming in the abyss. It's a cool effect. However, this pond is not gonna fill itself, so before I start grinding, I wanna thank today's sponsor, the Sand Duper. I couldn't have done this project without you, buddy. Anyway, back to the grind.
You on my mind a lot. Don't need no time watch. I don't know how I got you in my pocket spot. Barging in from the bed to the floor to the couch. Might wake the neighbors up. Break you in and break you out. In the end, we're gonna make a child.
Who's got 2 blocky hands and way overestimated how large this project is? This guy. I finished the lake and added a base layer of smooth orange sandstone to the entire storage room. I love how the lake in the middle feels really, really big and beautiful and takes up the massive amount of space right in the center of the storage room. And I think adding glow squids to each layer really adds a beautiful murky effect on the pond and makes it feel alive. As for the orange sandstone, this is just a base layer, and I know we're gonna add way more details in the future. 2 things I don't like about the pond. One is that I added 1 or 2 many layers of glass, which totally obscures the bamboo farm to the point where you can't really see it at all. Secondly, the center of the pond has massive areas of dark spots, but I found a solution. I started detailing this out by adding florals that are embedded in the layers of glass itself. I used pearlescent frog lights, cherry leaves, red coral fans, and melon blocks for stems to add a butt-ton of these flowers. By adding these at different depths, it looks like a massive growth of these flowers, and I think does wonders for not only the light levels, but some of the detail as well. Of course, we have a long way to go, and the next thing I want to do is detail all the rivers flowing into the pond and flowing out into the storage room. When working on an organic project of this size, I think the name of the game is to build out in passes. Spend 1 pass working on one aspect and go up and down the river until you're satisfied. Then continue the cycle again and again. I knew from the get-go I wanted to do a gradient of dark brown tones of the podzol to junglewood to a lighter brown tone of dripstone blocks at the bottom of the river. I like that podzol at the water level makes rivers look wet and muddy, and I know mud exists as a block, but frankly, I forgot until recording this voiceover just now. Passes really help my ability to work on the underwater sections. I would first do a pass of bone meal to create as much seagrass as possible. One of my pet peeves is that bone meal creates way too much seagrass, so I have to spend another pass breaking 2/3 of the seagrass to lighten it up. I then added sea pickles for some light and added dripstone everywhere. The dripstone adds more texture to the bottom of the river and makes it feel more organic. I kept using the glass trick throughout this organic to make my water look like it's flowing into the pond. After a small-scale test, I found that the blue stained glass looks way better than the green, so I blended it into the pond. And I think the results speak for themselves. The brown, muddy rivers slice right through the bright orange sandstone and bring a darker, murkier autumn color palette into the storage room, which needed the contrasting touch. Walking around here makes this place start to feel really organic and alive, but we have so much more to add, although I don't think we'll get to all of it in this episode. Frankly, I need a break and a snack. Oh look, there's some chorus fruit. If I eat this, I wonder where it'll take me. Oh, it's the Villager Chateau! Since last episode, I did a 30-day building challenge where I completed all the interiors of our Village Trading Hall Chateau. This place has fundamentally transformed from the empty box that it was into a sprawling labyrinth of rooms, corridors, and interesting features that turned out amazing. I did this challenge in a bunch of shorts on my channel, so if you're interested, I highly recommend you check them out. It's right next to the subscribe button. But I wanted to bring attention to the Wall of the World. This is a room in my chateau where I put flags from where all my subscribers are from. Unlike the genius I am, I did not make this room scalable, so I want to expand it and add all the flags that have been added to the community. We got Singapore, Costa Rica, Netherlands, Germany, Latvia, Guyana, Japan, Saudi Arabia, Poland, Italy, Israel, Estonia, Mexico, Lithuania, but very specifically, Kaunas, Lithuania, New Zealand, and Pakistan, Minnesota, and Florida in the United States. Please send me the city, state, or country that you're from in order for me to add you to the Wall of the World. I mean, look at this place. Isn't it gorgeous? No. Well, it is, but not in the current moment. Right now, it looks very bare and needs plants and life added to it, but that doesn't mean we can't start prepping for it now. And I know the perfect place to build their habitat. Welcome back to my starter village. Although I've started my world here, this place has totally transformed over time, and today's edition is no exception. Looking at the village from the opposite angle, we can see it promptly cuts off right over here, so I want to finish out the episode by expanding it closer to the water and adding a sniffer farm. We need those pitcher pods and torch flowers to beautify our cathedral storage room. I raided my storage room and grabbed every single block I could think of to start this project. I first started by working on the paths, adding a base layer of moss, getting rid of the gobbledygook, then adding layers of coarse and rooted dirt. Then, after some light terraforming, I started to section off the area I wanted to call my sniffer farm. I made walls of azalea leaves, making sure there are no gaps for the sniffers to escape. Excitedly, I got a visit from the wandering trader, but since he had nothing good, I let him and his llamas wander free. It was then time for the farm itself. I dug out 3 layers of dirt and added an andesite floor with powered rails on top. I made sure they were all powered and covered it back up with grass. I quickly replaced the grass with moss and added my 3 sniffer eggs that we found in a live stream. Now, I've played enough Zoo Tycoon to know that these little guys would need a shelter. I tried to match the color palette with the existing builds in the area with deep slate pillars and a copper roof. Don't worry, it'll oxidize over time. I then heard some sniffles coming from the ground and I saw baby sniffers for the first time in game, and they are so friggin' cute. Also, this frog was here chillin'. I don't know where he came from or what his deal was, but he was a welcome guest. While waiting for them to grow up, I textured the enclosure and worked on adding 2 additional fields. One field was for carrots while the other field was for potatoes. And for a final touch, I had to build out a spruce dock so that this path could actually lead somewhere. And by that time, the sniffers were all grown up, so I bred them one more time and placed the egg down. While waiting for that egg to hatch, I built out 2 of these custom acacia slab trees, and they still look awesome. By then, the 4th sniffer had hatched, so I had to welcome them into the world by giving them some names. Hello Larry, Jeff, Leon, and Susie. And of course I had to name our loose frog, Marty Froghauser. Look, I know. It's certainly animal cruelty to keep all these sniffers in such a confined space, but a man needs his plants. After breeding them up a little bit more, I did an 8 to 10 hour AFK session, and let's check out how many items I got. Look at this, it's not so bad after all. This is my first time looking at them in-game, and I'm actually really blown away. The blue hue of the pitcher pod is actually really nice, and it's not really similar to any other nature items in the game. It has this purplish tone that I really like, and the torch flower is vibrant and looks like it's on fire. I think these are both gonna work wonders within the storage room. But we only got pitcher pods and torch flower seeds, so I need to make a quick redstone contraption to convert them into plants. And frankly, this abandoned building right in the middle of town would be perfect. That simple redstone contraption took me over 10 minutes to make, so my redstone brain is not firing on all cylinders right now. But it works totally fine. You hold down right click for the pitcher pods and the bone meal grows it up while the piston pushes it out. Torch flower seeds are not much different as you hold down right click, but every so often hit the left click just to punch out the torch flower seeds. We got a whole bunch of them, so I think it's time to do some passes throughout the cathedral. Can I say more about the beauty of organic builds in Minecraft? Once again, I'm using the passes method to outline the river shoreline. I'm doing one pass of ferns and then a follow-up pass of bone mealing some of them to get them too tall. A pass of pink petals and then a hefty addition of our pitcher plants. I love that purplish hue. Torch flowers will be put somewhere else eventually, but what can I say? These quick 4 passes made this start to look like a real biome and feel like a big step towards feeling natural. This storage room is so inspiring. Just a few quick passes and I can't stop flying around just checking out every single inch of the storage room. Those pitcher pods pop so well and really outline the rivers, while the other nature really blends into the background. I'm truly amazed. But I think this video's time has come to an end. Don't get fooled by this episode length. This has been one of the largest videos I've ever made. Not only in editing, but build time as well. But I'm so proud of how this episode turned out, and I hope you enjoyed it. We started the episode by building out of beautiful white mushrooms to line the cathedral walls. Using the alternating glass trick, we then worked on adding a massive lake over the bamboo farm. We made the murky lake feel alive with glow squids swimming in the abyss. The center of the pond then blossomed with beautiful cherry tree flowers emerging from the depths, adding light and color to the dull pond. We then worked on converting the entire ground floor to a red sandstone across the entire storage room, turning this green disaster into an oasis. Inspired by a recent trip to Vermont, we drastically changed the storage room and started to work on a new biome to line the storage floor. From there, muddy rivers cut through the new storage room lined with podzol, junglewood, and dripstone. Then, onto the village to populate a sniffer farm and start farming pitcher pods and torch flowers for our biome block palette. And finally adding nature to the shorelines, making this biome feel more alive and more like home. So, if you made it to the end of this video, make sure to let me know in the comments and let me know what you think I should work on in the next episode. And now that I'm done this big Minecraft project, I could finally go outside and experience the real fall colors. Well, Bye!